Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today is the 8th of November 2023. These are the stories that we'll try to decipher during the course of our show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the address to different sections by our caretaker Prime Minister, Mr. Anwar before he left for the ECO summit. He talked about many important things pertaining to the current situation regarding terrorism in Pakistan, and of course how the Afghan side has been time and again informed about the uptick of activities from across the border in Pakistan, but there has been no reaction whatsoever from the Afghan side. This and more, of course, was highlighted during the this address of our caretaker Prime Minister. The fact also remains, ladies and gentlemen, that if you look at the recent spate of incidents that have occurred in Pakistan, it points towards this upsurge in terrorist activities from across the border and a lack of willingness by the Afghan authorities to do anything about it. This is going to be our first story. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Palestine, Gaza, the number of bombings that have increased, the number of casualties that have increased, the need for the world to do something, although there are a lot of rhetorics or words or statements that are now emanating from the West, but these words need to be translated into some form of concrete action for some ceasefire to occur. As we speak, Israel says it is in no mood for a ceasefire. At the behest of the lives of thousands of people, Israel says it does not want to stop the current spate of activities that are resulting in the deaths of innocent civilians in Gaza. This is going to be our second story. Our third story concerns climate change, and 2023, that is predicted to be the warmest year in 125,000 years, comes as no surprise because of the fact that the world again is not doing the needful as far as decreasing the carbon emissions or the other factors that are contributing to climate change across the world, and then it is countries like Pakistan that suffer as a consequence. Lastly, we'll be talking about a rare blue diamond, ladies and gentlemen, that has sold for 44 million US dollars at an auction. You can see the diamond in the parallel window. Known as Bleu Royal, means royal blue. This diamond is rare, and of course this auction not only featured this blue rare diamond, it also featured other interesting pieces of jewelry and a watch as well. We'll be highlighting that as our last story, but let's begin with the most important, and that is terrorism in our first story. Our caretaker Prime Minister Anwar before he left for the ECO summit, highlighted that in his address to the media. More in the following report.
Prime Minister Anwar held a media talk ahead of his visit to Azerbaijan. The Prime Minister said there has been spike in terrorist activities from Afghan soil, as more than 2,000 Pakistanis have been martyred due to cross-border terrorism in the last 2 years. PM Kakar said 64 Afghan terrorists were killed while fighting with Pakistani security forces. The Prime Minister said after the recent statements of Afghan leaders, the increase in terrorist incidents is meaningful. He said it is expected that the Afghan government will take action against elements involved in terrorism in Pakistan. The Prime Minister said in the absence of a positive response from the Afghan government, it is enough for Pakistan to fix our own affairs. He said Pakistan hosted millions of Afghan refugees for 4 decades, and now Afghan citizens are voluntarily returning to their country. The Premier said border authorities at all border crossings connected to Afghanistan are providing assistance to refugees in their return. Prime Minister Kakar said 1.4 million Afghan refugees with verified documents are still residing in Pakistan. He said Pakistan will continue Afghan transit trade for the convenience of Afghan people, as no country has any kind of pressure on Pakistan. Responding to a question on Israeli barbarism in Gaza, Prime Minister said the innocent people are being butchered in Gaza. While expressing concern over Israeli hostilities, the Prime Minister said a special meeting is being held in Saudi Arabia on the situation in Gaza. Reporting for PTV World, Musharraf Zahoor.
Now to discuss this, we've been joined by two guests, one in the studio and the other online. In the studio, we've got Aniq Zafar. He's a senior analyst. Aniq sir, pleasure to have you in our show. And our second guest will be online, Salman, Javed, expert in Afghan affairs. Salman sir, of course, whenever he joins us, will be highlighting his point of view as well on the current issue. Let's begin with you, Aniq sir. In your point of view, what are the key reasons or how should I say, factors that are behind this uptick in terror activities in Pakistan? We'll just look at every day in the last few days or weeks, we've been seeing a very regular spate of attacks. What is the basic reason behind this? Is it Afghanistan? Is it the outpouring of terror activities from across the border, or is there more to it?
It is an interplay of multiple factors. When Afghan Taliban took over Kabul in 2021, most observers had predicted that there will be an uptick of terror activities in Pakistan, primarily because TTP, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, and Tehreek-e-Taliban Afghanistan are sort of joined at the hip. You cannot see them separately. There has been a tendency in Pakistan of some observers who are perhaps more sympathetic to TTA than myself may be, that TTA is more pro-Pakistan, TTP is not exactly representing TTA. Of course, it's not representing TTA. It has own objectives. TTA has own objectives. But when it comes to larger ideology and larger consensus that how to push your agenda, the tactics are the same, strategy is the same, and they collaborate, cooperate with each other at multiple levels. Again, because both of them are not very centralized monolith organizations. There are multiple groups within these organizations. So after this, TTP entered into some sort of an agreement with the former government. We are not really privy to what was the reason and what was the agreement was later leaked, but they were allowed to come into Pakistan with the understanding that they will not create any trouble. But this is, if you go to the history of militancy in Pakistan, this is a typical tactic by these organizations. They use this period of peace to rebuild, regroup, rearm. And then another important factor which is coming into play, Prime Minister also mentioned it today, that when US left Afghanistan, they left hundreds and thousands of tons of unused weapons in Afghanistan.
And we've had proof of the use of those weapons.
These weapons are being used now by these groups in Pakistan. Sometimes our security forces are taken by surprise by the sophistication of the weapons that are being used by these terrorists. So now what they are doing is that they are entering Pakistan through various systems which were in place already. That is why we are now trying to be more strict on the borders, not allowing anyone without identification, passports, visas, and all that. And I am surprised at some of the people. I was looking at a demonstration somewhere in Chaman, and that people have rejected visa and passport. People across two borders have rejected visa and passport. What do you mean? Why do you want? No, I mean, why do you want that these two states should not function as proper states? Proper states function on some principles.
This is a malified intention, isn't it?
If your politics if your politics gets emboldened by this line, sorry, I will not accept it, because it is my security. My children are being killed in terrorist incidents. My security forces, these guys who were killed in day before yesterday or yesterday, Colonel Hassan and all these people, these are like my younger brothers, my younger sons. So why should I be allowing people to come in from Afghanistan and come here? And I don't want to say.
Look at the recent report.
But Mullah Yaqub sits on the TV and tells us, sits somewhere, and it's a leaked video or whatever, it was broadcast, I'm not aware, but he sits there and says that Pakistan should be careful. But otherwise there
It
will be
should be
blowback.
Afghanistan that needs to be careful of what it is
Because
doing, because
if that is
going
going to be,
against all
then I
international
will
norms.
be taking a stance that Pakistan should block all trade. Pakistan should block all movement. Okay, fine. Let's see what can happen. We have seen this previously. We have overcome it previously. We'll do it again. But this blackmailing should not be tolerated.
But this is not the first time the blackmailing has happened from the Afghan
Of
side,
course.
isn't it?
I mean, any government in Kabul that sits there, it thinks that it has all the right to bully Pakistan. Why?
And also abuse Pakistan.
Yeah.
Just not bullying.
Despite their dependency on Pakistan in so
Look at
many
how
ways.
Pakistan has helped the millions and millions of Afghan
I mean,
refugees.
you even do not have health infrastructure. You need to send all your patients who need surgeries, who need medical facilities to Pakistan. You cannot survive without our facilities.
What proposals do you feel that, that now that the Prime Minister has also, while addressing the media, talked about certain proposals to take against Pakistan opposing groups, particularly the TTP that originate from Afghan soil? What, in your point of view, should be the main focus of attention of our government from now onwards, looking at the intention that the Afghan government has shown through various means and measures?
Obviously, like the Prime Minister said, that you will have to make a choice between TTP and Pakistan. So if you want to listen to TTP and your partnership with them is so sacred to you, then Pakistan has all the right to take measures for its own security, right? And if they want to choose Pakistan, they should sit down and they should hand over all those people who are wanted in Pakistan and disarm whoever whoever from TTP is sitting in those camps. They should be disarmed. They should be told that, okay, Afghan government wants to host them. Okay, fine. They stay there. Do not cross the border.
But Aniq, if you remember well, some time back there was a statement, a fatwa by the Afghan supreme leader, in which he talked about, anything that happens, any untoward incident happening in Pakistan is not jihad. It is not to be considered as one. Despite that, look at the recent spate of attacks.
That's what I mean. I would venture to say that perhaps their own house is not in order. There are perhaps groups within TTA which are not following the line of Mullah Abdullah, who is the Amir, because what I understand is that he does want to stop this, but there are people down there who may be involved with TTP, whose businesses, whose strategic purposes are interlinked with TTP. So Pakistan, if they do not sort of leave any choice for Pakistan, then Pakistan will have to take action, and these actions will include one, strict border controls, two, telling Afghan government that what are our red lines, right, and that all the trade, currency trade, this movement of people, everything has to be structured under some agreement and all that. It is ironic that these people, when Afghan muhajirin came in, Afghan immigrants came in, they look at them as if they are here under without any agreement. They were here under UNHCR agreement with government of Pakistan, and that agreement did not envisage that they will not be going back, right?
And they have flouted it time and again through involvement in various activities.
There have been number of announcements by UNHCR itself that they need to go back, right? If they are not going back, then again the government of Pakistan is not saying that everyone should go back. Government of Pakistan is saying that those who do not have valid documents should go back.
I totally agree with you.
And if you by staying here for last 40 years have not properly registered yourself, then it is not the fault of state of Pakistan.
Agreed. We've also been joined by Salman, Javed expert, Afghan affairs. Salman, thank you very much to have joined us. In your point of view, Why has no concrete action been taken by the Afghan government to address Pakistan's concerns about anti-Pakistan groups activating from across the border?
There are certain reasons to that. When you talk with the officials of Taliban, and if you go there and if you see the structure, you will find that there are many people from the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan who are in close association with them. They have a very close working relation. They have a very close, I can say that, a tribal relation with them as well. So based upon that, they are not ready to give up on TTP. And that is one of the major concerns that Pakistani authorities have shown time and again to the Afghan interim government, to the Taliban. But no serious effort has been taken up by the Afghan Taliban to sort out this issue for the state of Pakistan. The major reason is that they claim there are two major reasons that they claim that that would happen. Number one is that if they will take any concrete action against TTP, they have a fear, or they pretend that they have a fear that these people will join or defect from TTP and join ISKP, which is a major threat to their internal security right now. And the other major reason is that, like I said before, that they have quite close affiliation and working relation with TTP right from the onset of war on terror, because they think that from the Pakistani side, when Pakistani side took a different stand on with the world and became the first line ally of war on terror, the TTP was one group that actually took a different stand and stood with them.
But Salman, looking at the state of affairs, looking at the number of incidents that have happened in the region in the near past, don't you feel it is the onus of responsibility lies solely on Afghanistan to take the necessary action? And if it does not take the necessary action, then the responsibility lies on other regional players, including Pakistan and other important countries, to take the necessary steps, helping Afghanistan or maybe doing it on their own. What is your take on that?
Definitely, it is actually one of the major responsibilities of the Afghan interim government as per the Doha agreement as well, because in that agreement they agreed upon this factor that they will not let any other entity or non-state actor to use their soil against any other country.
But that was the first statement by Amir Muttaqi when he addressed, once he took power. This is what he said: he will never let the Afghan soil be used against any neighborhood country. And this is exactly what is happening today. This is what is happening as far as Pakistan is concerned.
But the thing is that despite of their statements, despite of their claims, things are actually have been happening the other way around on ground. So we see, like the PM Kakar has said today, and he gave some stats as well in his speech, that there is a spike of 60% terrorist attacks in Pakistan since the takeover of IEA in Kabul, and there is a spike of 500% suicide attacks in Pakistan since their take up in the Kabul. So this is an alarming situation for Pakistan, and no other country in the region is actually facing such kind of threat from Afghanistan like Pakistan is facing. The other countries, they have actually successfully curtailed this threat which was emanating from Afghanistan, but still they feel that the threat of ISKP or ETIM or other such groups like Al-Qaeda and TTP pose a serious threat to the regional security. But unfortunately, they are also not playing a very effective role to address this concern or address the concerns of Pakistan. So Pakistan needs to be very proactive, and I think this offensive defensive on the diplomatic end as well on the political end is quite a right step in the right direction.
All right, right step in the right direction. Let's come to the studios. Aniq, when he says right step in the right direction, and of course Pakistan has taken a lot of steps, but it also should have the assistance or the cooperation of other regional or global players in this drive against terrorist elements. How can important countries, for example the US, for example China, work together with Pakistan in order to thwart such designs?
Well, unfortunately, I think world right now is occupied with so many other things, and US seemingly has abandoned this region for now. This is a track record of the US that when their short-term or long-term strategic objectives are achieved or not achieved, they abandon the place, forget about it, and busy themselves with some other region. So right now they are engaged in Russia-Ukraine. They are engaged now in Israel-Palestine, and they are not looking at the situation here. China is our best bet. China, perhaps that is why the Prime Minister held a press conference today and made himself very clear, so that a message can be sent to all the countries who are participants in SCO, that this is our position, and we like to engage with you on this position as well. So I'm sure in the bilateral meetings there, although SCO's charter does not allow in the plenary or in the formal meetings, does not allow the bilateral issues to be discussed, but security and terrorism remains a prime issue in SCO. In SCO's charter, and in the past also it has been talked about. So I'm sure the Prime Minister will be speaking to these neighborly countries, and obviously if Pakistan is right now feeling that Afghan government has not really been able to control TTP, we are very aware that there are other groups within Afghanistan who have the potential to sort of disturb China or Tajikistan and the neighboring countries from Central Asian countries. So they will also be concerned. So it is a good opportunity for the Prime Minister to take them on board and pressurize Afghan government. And I think right now even Iran should be concerned about it.
All right. Last question, Salman. I'd like to understand the role of regional countries, regional organizations to, handle terrorist organizations like the TTP, like the ISIK, from, them dissipating into other countries, from them further wreaking havoc in other countries. Pakistan has borne the brunt, but Pakistan is also doing the needful in order to thwart all such activities. But what about the other countries? Shouldn't there be a joint resolve of some kind? Because we know where they are centered in, we know where they emanate from.
So there was a talk about a regional security panel, which should be discussing about these issues with particularly with Afghanistan. In a recent forum which was held in China, if you have observed that Pakistan's foreign minister, the acting foreign minister, and Afghan's interior minister, they both met with each other, but in the presence of Chinese officials as well. So there was a kind of joint effort to address this issue and to send a message to Afghanistan that the countries in region are quite concerned about this. There is a recent statement from the Afghan officials that they have asked China to pressurize in some form, put a pressure on Pakistan to stop this repatriation of illegal immigrants towards Afghanistan. But China responded to that since we have a strategic partnership with Pakistan, so we will address this issue in our own way, and we will try to send this message to Pakistan. But they have their own policy making, they have their own decision making process and methodology. So China probably will play a proactive role or a strategic role over here, and Pakistan should pursue some kind of diplomatic effort with Chinese officials so that they can put a pressure on Afghanistan, because they have invested a lot over there, and our Afghan interim government is also quite cozy right now with the Chinese officials and Chinese government as well. So probably China will be having a kind of strategic impact over there. Otherwise, the other regional countries like Iran or Central Asian countries, they might have not that much of an impact or effect on the Afghan interim government. So Pakistan
let's see, because of course the region is impacted, Salman, and the fact remains that all countries in the region need to come together in order to put up a joint strategy against all such elements that emanate from Afghanistan and that are slowly and steadily creeping and could creep into other countries and regions as well. Thank you very much, Salman, to have joined us. Salman Javed, expert Afghan affairs, to have joined us, of course, and to have talked about the press meet of our caretaker Prime Minister, highlighting the terrorist activities and of course the reason behind it that emanates from the Afghan soil, and how there has been no proper response from the Afghan side as far as that is concerned. Let's come to our second segment. Of course, Aniq Zafar Saab joins us, continues to be with us for the second segment as well, and that concerns Palestine. 10,000 plus casualties as far as killings are concerned. and barbaric killings. These are not killings because of a disease, these are killings because of bombings, whether it be white phosphorus bombs, whether it be normal bombings, whether it be ground intrusions, whether it be other methodologies to kill and kill. This is what Israel has in mind, this is what Israelis have in mind, to exterminate. This is what the term exactly that they used, some of their leaders used in the very near past of the Palestinians. And what they also want to do is to relocate them, or try to relocate them, so that the space that has been created in Gaza can now be filled up by the Israelis to create more camps for the Israelis. And where does that leave Palestine? In other places, and who knows, in other countries as well. But this should not happen. 10,000 plus casualties, and this needs to stop before it takes a toll on the region, and it could take a toll on the world. Aniq Zafar Saab joins us, and of course we'll also be joined by Haneen Harara. She's a journalist who joins us from Gaza as well, to give us more update as far as the situation in Palestine is concerned. Let's begin with you, Aniq Saab. Aniq Saab, we see what is happening in different parts of Gaza. We see the bombings, we see the statements, we see that there is no resolve of any kind to stop, to go for a ceasefire, specifically from the Israeli government. Even when there is pressure from the Biden government that they need to, halt their activities, they are not halting. Have they been given too much of a free rein?
Yes, of course. It is absolutely shameful, the way the Western powers have let Israel have a free rein to murder and annihilate Palestinians in Gaza. And even they are now, I have seen reports there have been some incursions into West Bank to arrest Palestinians, and the bombings, of course, have killed a number of children. Gaza itself has, because of its unique circumstances, has a large population of children, because most of the grown-ups have left because of the lack of economic opportunities, of lack of freedoms and all that, have left to other countries so that they can earn their living and sustain their families. So there are split families of Palestinians living in Gaza all over the world. But one thing which is sort of, I don't want to use the word heartening, I don't want to use the word encouraging. One thing which seems different from the past such incidents has been that the civil society all over the world has joined hands. There have been large protests, almost all in almost all Western
even in those countries that had banned protests.
France banned the protests. And there was a massive rally in Paris. In London, there was a massive rally. So perhaps this public pressure may help secure a ceasefire. But so far, these big powers, US has not really seriously spoken to Israel. UK has not seriously spoken to Israel.
Although Anthony Blinken has been visiting a lot of the countries in the region.
What US has been trying is to not let the conflict expand to other countries.
But isn't it expanding slowly?
Again, it can. I mean, it is a powder keg. It can explode any time. The region has always been volatile. There has been restraint by some of the powers sitting in the region, but how long that restraint will be there? Because again, as I said, that within the Muslim world, within the Muslim populace, there is huge anger. People are quite disturbed. And in such situations which are volatile, even one incident can lead to multiple actors getting involved. That is why US has pushed its military, its naval fleet near Israel to threaten other countries not to enter into the conflict.
Isn't that also an escalation as far as the conflict is concerned?
I mean, that is not an escalation in the sense that because we like it or not like it, the sheer ability of the U.S. to deploy its fleets all over the world, its forces all over the world, and take action all over the world is sort of a deterrent, and everyone knows that U.S. Stands behind Israel in all cases. $14 billion approved by the Congress for Israel. I mean, Israel does not need that kind of support right now.
But it is getting it.
It is getting it. It's just freebies, because otherwise,
and if you look at the West,
what kind of a war they have to fight with Gazans? Gazans are not as such armed. They do not have an air force. They do not have an artillery. So, I mean, they have Hamas has sort of indigenized a few weapons, but these are not sophisticated weapons.
But just look at the narrative that is being built in the West as far as Palestine or Gaza is concerned, which legitimizes the killing of tens of thousands of people in Gaza.
That because Gazans have been dehumanized. The victimhood narrative of Israelis has permeated so well throughout the world media, particularly the Western media, that they are not ready to see what is happening in Gaza. So that and these are just numbers. And if you look at the coverage of these outlets, Western outlets, it's shameful. It's pathetic. They are talking about, they are not looking at the human side of the story.
But why is that? This is what I mean, just look at the hypocrisy, the contrast between the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the contrast between the Israel-Palestine conflict. I mean, it shows a complete hypocritic attitude of the West as far as how to deal with human rights, quote unquote, humanitarian human rights issues.
I'll borrow a statement from one of the Egyptian actor and comedian Bassam Youssef on a show with Piers Morgan, and he said that what Israel has managed in 10 days is to completely remove any sort of has pulled down all the facade of the West of human rights and all that. This exposed the West like never ever before. It is very. I think now it's very obvious that I am not someone who opposes the presence of Israel completely. I'm not one of those people. But now it becomes more and more apparent that Israel has been supported as a bully in the region to keep the regions destabilized and not let the Arab region develop, and completely perhaps completely remove Palestinians from that region.
That is one of the aims of Israel.
They sit and say that why don't other Muslim countries take them in? Okay, why should they be leaving their own homeland?
Exactly, it is their homeland. It is where they have been living since decades and since generations. We've been joined by Dr. Manzoor Afridi online. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Dr. Saab, when Netanyahu, while talking to an international media outlet, suggests that Israel would manage Gaza's security long after its war with Hamas, is it inclining towards a long-term game plan of Israel as far as Gaza or Palestine is concerned, to remove as many of the Palestinians from their land where they have been living since decades?
Omar Khalid Saab, that's very much true. If we see the history of this Palestine-Israel conflict, so since especially 1967, when there was the setting fire by the Israelis to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and after that 1973, the Yom Kippur War. So Israel, the Jews, they have been increasing their installments, they have been increasing their encroachment, and they have been increasingly doing the Palestinian people, making them as homeless. So there are no two opinions. Even today, if we see so many Palestinians, they are residing, they are living in Jordan, in Lebanon, in Egypt, in Sudan, and so many other Arab and the African countries, and also in Europe. So all these people, of course, those are made homeless by the Israeli. And if we see by the current wave, so this population, the installments and all these things, that the forceful occupation of the Palestinian lands by no law, it has been justified by not by even the UN Charter. So that is the long-term plan made by the Israel to make Palestinians just to very much limited to a small portion of land, maybe that is Gaza or West Bank, but that is, I think, within few miles, right? So if we see the real picture and map of this Israel land and Israel state back in 1947-48, so there we can see that almost 90% that was Palestine and 10% that was Israel. But now it is almost opposite. So now if around about 35-40% if that is Palestine and 60 or 65% that is Israel. So if we see the pace of Israelis, how they are occupying the lands of Palestinians, so within few years we can predict that it will be very much limited. So maybe just 5-6% land
Manzoor,
that will be limited.
Just look at the recent report by the Palestinian media. It says that 70% of Gaza's 2.3 million population has already been displaced because of the non-stop bombing. Now the United Nations Security Council has met behind closed doors to discuss a ceasefire. Will anything happen? How important is the role of the UN?
Well, UN role is important, but if it really takes action, that is important. I mean, political will is important. Another thing, there is also mechanism of the UN Security Council. So it is very much unfortunate that 1, 2, or 3 permanent members of Security Council, they often veto such kind of resolution for peace mechanism to establish there, or for having a ceasefire, or for having a permanent solution. So that is very much unfortunate, like the United States or UK or France. So often these states, they make such resolutions veto. So about the role, that is important, but about the will, serious action, or really a concrete step to be taken to have a kind of solution, at least to have a negative peace, at least to have a temporary peace to prevail over there. So that is important, and I hope, but I don't think so that it will work. It will only work where the Israeli agenda that is standing, and where that is applicable.
All right, kindly stay online with us. Aniq Saab, the fact remains that there is a very key point in all of this, that is political will. Let's also talk about the Israel's internal political will. And I'd like to refer to what former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert has said. He has assessed Prime Minister Netanyahu's emotional state and actions regarding Gaza and has criticized him. There's also a criticism that is emanating from within Israel, from the Israeli community, from the Jewish community. What political implications could this have in the short term and the long term for Israel? Do you feel Netanyahu will lose his power because of his barbaric attitude?
Well, as we have seen all over the world that these rightist or extreme right in most of the countries in the last decade or so, whenever they have come to power, they have used the agenda of security and division among the society, and that is a classical playbook of all these fascist-leaning leaders. Netanyahu is a classical fascist leader.
Always has been.
Always has been. As Olmert Ehud said, that he has always sold himself as a security man, and he has failed at that. And obviously, right now his response to October 7 is to use maximum force and threaten the world. But problem with the use of force in such situation is that it does not make you secure. It makes you more insecure because it is going to create a reaction, and that reaction will continue for years. So, from within Israel, there are immediately after he started bombing Gaza and all that, there were some surveys that showed that most of the people were accusing Netanyahu for the situation. And before this incident, Netanyahu was already in political crossfire and haywire. So he is now trying to survive, and his survival is linked to his aggressive actions. That's what he thinks. But he's definitely going to be weakened because Israelis, once this fervor of nationalism and revenge and all that comes down, they will realize that they have lost a lot of moral ground.
But they have already lost their moral ground. I mean, if not all, I mean, almost all.
To begin with, they did not have much, but right now, some of the when I look at the international media, some of the civil society leaders in the world, people have started speaking. People have started criticizing. Their governments started criticizing Israel, and even this time, the stark difference between Jews and Zionism is also being exposed. Jews, many
they always refer to the Second World War. What happened to the Nazis? This is exactly what they are doing.
Jews have been saying in some societies in US, in UK, and in other countries, Jews have been saying that we have nothing to do with Zionists. The Israeli state is controlled by the Zionists. We do not subscribe to their point of view, right? So that's what I'm referring to.
All right.
Right. So right now that is what the state of Israel is going through, and if it continues on this path, it may survive a couple of more decades, but there is not going to be any long-term future for the state of Israel.
Okay. Dr. Manzoor Afridi, when we talk of survival, this is a point that Mr. Aniq Zafar pointed out. When we talk of survival, when you look at the lack of food supplies, water supplies, aid supplies, despite the fact that many countries, including Pakistan, are sending consignments to Palestine, but are they really reaching to the needy? The hospitals that are closing down, there is a lack of facilities. Do you think this is a fight for survival for the Palestinian people?
Yeah, this is fight for survival, and the biggest thing for state that is survival. So now look, the unfortunate fate of the Palestinian people, that they have been fighting for their own state of Palestine, and now even beyond that, if you see, now they are fighting for their own survival. They just save their lives in other countries, or maybe somewhere within the Palestinian land. So very much unfortunate. It is a slap on the humanity of the international community. So I ask that where are the international organizations? Where is the UN Charter? Where is the international law? Where is the international diplomacy? All of them, they are either silent or they are just backing Israel. So it is very much shameless that how Israel is doing, and the whole international community, the world, all the major powers, they are just looking into it, and they are nothing. They are doing nothing in this regard. So if hospitals they are bombarded, if women they are not protected, if aged people they are not protected, and even if children they are ruthlessly just vanished from the Palestinian land, they are killed. So where is the civilized world? I think this.
I agree with you on that, and thank you very much, Dr. Manzoor Afridi, to have joined us and to have talked to us about that. Last question, Aniq Saab, and that concerns humanity, but also the role of the world. Is diplomacy enough? Is cutting ties with Israel enough? Is highlighting the atrocities in your statements enough? What needs to be done so that it hurts Israel the most?
I think all these steps are important. International pressure, human rights, the question of human rights, cutting off trade, or whatever way we can pressurize pressurize Israel. Obviously, there is no military solution. Some people get very emotional, and I have seen people even saying, "What is Pakistan doing? Pakistan should be sending its I don't know, arms or whatever. But no, that is not the solution.
Pakistan is doing a lot.
Pakistan
there's 2 consignments, 2 huge consignments.
Yeah, that
to
is
Palestine.
but what I'm referring to is that they are talking about military sort of support or what. That is not the solution. Escalation of the conflict is not the solution. De-escalation is the solution, and we should be using all manners of pressures, all manners of diplomacy to de-escalate the situation. And obviously,
I agree with you on
and
that.
obviously, repivot to two-state solution, right?
And in letter and spirit, in
letter and
proper way,
spirit.
that needs to be,
Yeah.
that should have been done years ago.
And people like Netanyahu have to be kept away from that.
Agreed. Aniq, Zafar, thank you very much. And I'd like to end this with the fact that we know there is a butcher of Gujarat. Now, in years to come, there will be a butcher of Gaza as well. Let's come to our last 2 stories very, very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. And the first story, of course, concerns the climate change and how it has been said that 2023 is going to be predicted as the warmest year in 125,000 years. A record-breaking October temperatures have been linked to the El Nino effect. The fact also remains that a lot of countries, despite the fact that are emitting a lot of carbon, are not doing the needful as far as carbon emissions are concerned, and the onus of responsibility also goes on to them. It adds to the catastrophes, it adds to the miseries of the earth and to the miseries of the people. Action, action and action, and not just mere statements. Last story rather is on a rare blue diamond that has been recently auctioned at 44 million US dollars. This is a huge amount, but it's also a beautiful diamond, and they say diamonds are a girl's best friend. Known as Bleu Royal or Royal Blue, this diamond is one of the rarest diamonds, and of course it has been sold at the price that it deserved. Also in this auction were a lot of jewelries, a lot of watches that were sold as well, and of course the Rolex that was worn by Marlon Brando also was sold at 4.99 million US dollars. This is what these auctions are for the extreme rich to buy these rare items. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's news, and we'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us here in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.